Jimmy Kimmel has returned to the airwaves, although not everywhere, as we'll get into, and he gave what is likely to be his most watched monologue in probably several years. The YouTube video of it is already like his best performing clip since the election, and that is brought to you by right-wing cancel culture and censorship. They have decided to present to America that this guy is evidently so dangerous to the regime that they have to try to shut him down, and a lot of people are going to want to tune in as a result of that. And so for the most part, I liked his commentary. I'm gonna read for you a little bit of it. We obviously can't show the clips because we're held to a standard that virtually no one else on the internet is. But anyway, here's some of what he had to say. I wanna make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man, nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions. It was a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, and I wanna address both of those. First of all, he's a guy who's not sad, he's not scared of showing emotion, and he was getting teared up a couple times through the course of his monologue. And so he says, it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. And I want to add on to what he said, and he didn't. He didn't make light of the murder of a young man, no matter how much the right wants to pretend that he did so that they can have his voice be silenced. And nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions. And also, he didn't do that. No matter how much the right wants to pretend that's what he did because they thought, maybe that will let us cancel him. He didn't do that. He's making clear that's the exact opposite of the point I was trying to make, which is exactly what I've been saying ever since this happened. That is not the point that he was making. But anyway, those issues aside, he goes on to say, our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country, and that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal, that's not American, that is un-American, and it's so dangerous. This show is not important. What's important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. Our government cannot be allowed to control what we do and what we and do not say on television. The president of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke, which is 100% true. That's exactly what this is about. And I am glad that he's back on, that he and those many people are not gonna lose their jobs. And Sharon, although it remains to be seen over the course of weeks and months, what effect this might have on the show. He was very critical of Donald Trump in this particular area. He brought up Epstein, he was critical of Brendan Carr. So it doesn't appear that he's now hands off with the regime, which is good because I was a little bit worried about that. What do you think?
I agree. And I watched it live and I think the emotion was real. And thank you for saying yet again, just the truth about what had happened here, the initial offense, what was and was not uttered. His greater point that he didn't, but even if he did, that's the point of free speech. He should be allowed to do what he believes, and then he can face consequences for it, but not in this kind of shakedown way. I thought the Robert De Niro part, playing the new FCC chairman, was also something that they could basically have taken the Brendan Carr script. You didn't need to make anything up. It was just mafiosa and just ridiculous. But I think it was a good thing. We'll see how Nexstar and Sinclair tiptoe out of this. But that's the thing when you lay down with dogs, okay? You're awful itchy most mornings, okay?
Yeah.
Until you do the right thing.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna be super critical of him or whatever. I'm glad that I was worried that he was gonna be forced by Disney to do like a 30-minute long like direct appeal pretending that he had done stuff that he did, and he didn't thankfully do that. He was critical of Donald Trump. And he expressed lots of stuff that I wouldn't have. Like he mentioned, by the way, on a separate point, how he had initially reached out immediately after the event happened to the family, like expressing his like concern for them. He apparently is very Christian, which I hadn't known. What's interesting, both he and Colbert are. That of course has not stopped the right from utterly despising them. And he did all that stuff. And it's just a reminder, like the concept they wanted to pitch of what him and his commentary was when it came to this It didn't matter at all that he had done all of that stuff. It's irrelevant. No matter how many times we say it here on the show, we still have trolls in the chat, literally right now, pretending that we weren't very clear about that. It's because they don't care about what you say. They care about what they can convince others that you've said, or positions they can convince others that you have. Jimmy Kimmel never made light of it. And he could have gone way harder, man. I know some people, in terms of like the memorial, the weird WWE energy of it. Trump, again, in the same way that as Kimmel did mock, was asked about how he was doing after Kirk had died and immediately starts talking about his amazing ballroom he's gonna have. Trump's speech at the memorial was just a cluster of every stream of consciousness thing he can think of. This is the sort of stuff that if you wanted to be critical of making light of an incident, maybe be critical of Donald Trump for repeatedly making light of it. Jimmy Kimmel is not that person and didn't do that.
Can
Now
I
that
say
said,
one thing just
yes,
real
you
quick,
can.
John?
You always can.
Disney, and I won't keep interrupting, but that's the one area, and I quickly let it go, that I feel that obviously there was that negotiation there. I was mad. I was really mad. And we said some things, they said some things, but I thank them for letting me come back. I I I think they're trash right now, and I'll decide in my own mind personally when I let them out of the trash bin for the way they handled this, even though it's unprecedented territory. And I think he clearly let his employer off the hook, but what are you going to do? I was just hoping that, because you know how late night David Letterman used to blast CBS all the time, and they just have a tradition. Stephen Colbert's doing that now, and he
Oliver
didn't.
does it all the
But
time.
you can't fight everyone.
Yeah, they're all basically doing that to some extent. And he said that he was forced to read a statement from Disney, and it was about signing back up for Disney Plus. Which, by the way, I just want to point out, by the way, they backed off, which is good. Now, we'll see what happens, but they did back off. That is good. They also like raised the price. Like we're just boycotting you, and you guys are raising the price right now. Let's just start the boycott again. Seriously, like I love free speech, but I also don't want to pay $19 a month for ads on Disney Plus. How are there ads on these things? We're already paying you for them. That's what the payment was for. If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?